Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 388 at scavengerlife.com.
This is a too long, didn't read description of this podcast.
TLDR.
We had our worst week, I think, all year this past week. Which is so interesting because it's, supposedly holiday time and...
fourth quarter.
Yeah, this is the week that was... it didn't include the Black Friday, but include Monday Madness. Or
Cyber
Monday.
And Small Business Saturday.
So anyway, I don't want to get into it. We'll get into it a little bit more, but that's where we're at. Okay, a couple things before that. There was a show on Netflix that came out this past year called Nasty Gal. And
it wasn't called Nasty Gal. It was called Girl Boss.
Oh, that's right. It was called Girl Boss.
Equally a ridiculous name. Sorry.
And it's about this woman, Sophia Amoroso.
Amoroso, yeah.
She started basically an eBay store back in 2006.
Called Nasty Gal.
Yeah, and it was, she sold vintage clothes, and she very quickly went from a zero to selling just on her own and a couple of employees, over $1 million.
Right.
Just on her own. It's business. And then her story was some venture capitalist people came to her, gave her a bunch of money. It became this other business where they're selling branded clothing.
Not like actual vintage clothing.
Right. And so it went from an eBay business to more like a branding company. And very quickly, it went bankrupt.
She went bankrupt very quickly. Yeah.
And when I saw that show, I was totally turned off because it's kind of obnoxious the way the show was. Because it was her going into a thrift store, buying something for cheap, and then making fun of the thrift store owner that she ripped him off because she's going to sell this thing for a lot of money.
Right,
and that's just a show.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's this interview that we'll put a link to on the blog. With her, and she kind of talks about how she started an eBay its business and made it bigger, and it was really good, right?
Right. Hearing that part of it, I mean, it's so interesting because there were so many parallels to what she said about starting an eBay business to what we talk about.
Yeah, she's one of us. The way she talked about...
She's a scavenger. Right. She did not grow up with any money. She knew how to, find something that was cool. It was 1960s vintage. She's an artist. She, worked in an art school.
And she talked about just the process of photographs and...
staging.
And dealing with customers and stuff.
Right.
And it's just... But what's interesting is you hear someone that made a very successful eBay business on her own, and it was her, and she was making a lot of money, but then she got tempted by this other world, which she then admits that she just didn't understand. She didn't understand what it meant to take other money and basically build an empire. I mean, a net, she got rich.
Yeah, she's a millionaire.
No matter what.
Millionaire.
But... You could tell in her story she was a little bit sad because she lost her business.
She lost her business,
It went away. And that she didn't enjoy that part of running an empire, and it just because it was no longer her thing.
Well, it was something that it transformed. It actually became, like you said, a totally different business.
Right.
It's like we talk about an eBay business versus an Amazon business. It feels like you're both selling things, she was, selling vintage clothing and then selling her own line or whatever it was, her lifestyle brand or whatever. But those are two totally different business. That is a different business.
And I guess it was just interesting for us because we're always talking about this, about other people starting a business, and we're always so what's the point? And it's always interesting to see, is a point to have your own thing with your own people who are working for you? Is it to build something in your community? Is it to get rich?
Is it to build it and then sell it?
Right.
Because we've talked to lots of people,
Sure.
especially coming from Silicon Valley, when you're
Silicone.
Silicon. How do you say it? You can say it either way. We did a lot of work there for several years, and that was the point of a lot of people's, entrepreneurship, where they would be like, "Oh, I just have this idea and I want to sell it."
So anyway, we will put a link to that interview. It's on Gimlet Media, and the show's called...
It's a great interview.
Without Fail is the name of the podcast.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. Alex Bloomberg, interviews different people that run businesses. And it's not like, in my mind, kind of those gross kind of motivational business shows. This is like, where did things go wrong? I love that.
Right. Like he's talking to people where it's not like, and I became a billionaire overnight. Yeah. It's like, I became super successful. I had no idea what I was doing, and then I was bankrupt.
Yep. Good to talk about.
And you're like, when do you ever hear that story? Like,
okay, something else on eBay this week that was really weird, and we'd like to hear if other people have experienced this. We got a couple of returns. So we get a message from eBay. Someone wants to return an item not as described, and we have in our thing where it says if someone wants to return something because we've done something wrong, we have to approve it. Because we want the ability to talk to the person, maybe offer them a refund, figure
not
out.
have to have it just mailed back to us.
But twice this week, we've had returns for not as described that were automatically accepted.
Right.
We had no say in it.
It's
which goes against what we have in our settings.
Yep.
So you called eBay.
So I called eBay and I was like, this person said this wasn't as described and it was automatically approved and they're mailing it back. Especially for like an electronic item, you're like, if it's broken, I don't want it back.
What did they say?
They said they are randomly starting to just accept returns.
Right. So obviously we never take one customer service rep's word as the law. Because we know how it is. Sometimes they're not as educated in their own rules, or they just say things that they think make sense to themselves, but they have no... So that's where we're at. We need to call again, and if we get the same answer, we need to ask, well, where does it say it? Because I couldn't find it on the eBay pages. If they've changed their return a process, it should be written down somewhere, and there should be an update. So if anyone's heard about that, we'd like to know.
Well, the other thing, too, was they were saying, like, you should check your settings, that it's not on auto-approve for everything. And I'm like, I did. I checked all my settings, and it's like, if it doesn't fit or they didn't like the color or whatever, those are automatically approved because it's like, sure, that's clearly buyer's remorse. But if it's not, I want to actually have a conversation with someone. I will approve it. I have to approve the returns. But it was odd to me because I'm like, where's the documentation?
Well, the other reason why it's good that for us is that if someone says there's something wrong, we often say, well, send a photo. Because it's at that point before they send it where we can get some evidence.
Right.
So if they're kind of being a little bit weird and shady, it's at that point, if they can't provide evidence, then we can make a case to eBay that this is not a valid...
Like, for example, like a piece of glass or china. Suppose someone's like, it's broken, I want to return it. You're like, great. Don't return it if the thing is broken. Right. So send me a photo. I can do the insurance claim. But if eBay is automatically accepting these things, I have no way to have that conversation.
So we're just trying to figure out, is it something maybe in our specific account?
Right.
Or
are other people experiencing this? Yeah.
Okay, another thing, Ryan, this is all you are using some kind of package tracker. What is that?
So look, this is nerdy. It's not to track eBay packages necessarily. It's mostly to track stuff I buy, or if there's an international package that I just want to keep an eye on, that I don't want to like click on eBay every time. So I was using if this then that, that website, there is a package tracker on there. And the point is, you can name the item. It's, an air conditioner. And every time you get the email update, air conditioner tracking update. UPS does not provide that. FedEx doesn't provide that. The post office does provide that, but you can't nickname it. So you're just getting random tracking from them that has no information. You're like, this is coming from Iowa. I forget what it is. So I was using if this, then that tracking, but it stopped working. And it was a real pain in the butt because I buy a lot of stuff online and there's some things I ship out that I'm like, I just want to keep an eye on this and see if there's updates.
Because we're in the middle of it's renovating a rental. So
I'm always like,
we're now buying really good deals on things, kind of gathering stuff for when we can actually put stuff in the apartment, like we're ready to go.
So it's like just this morning you were like, where's that thing we ordered 15 days ago? And I'm like, that's the kind of thing where I'm like, where's the tracking? I just need it to, anytime there's a tracking update, I want an email. Yeah. So I found one called packagetracker.com. I'll link to it. And it's great because you can sign in with your like Google account or your Facebook account or whatever. And then it's automatically set to email you. You're like, here's a UPS ground tracking. And once you've put it in your like list, it's automatically like sending you updates and you can nickname it. It's like, I wish the post office would allow you to nickname the package. You're like, this is an air conditioner.
A long string of numbers, right?
It's just a long string of numbers coming from wherever, and you get the email, and you're like, what was that again? I forget. Right. I'm tracking like 15 boxes, You could track your eBay packages like that. It would be a pain. But
I will say that I see Ryan definitely is a packing nerd because, you'll be in bed and I'll see you on your phone or computer going through
the eBay status.
Like, oh, that got there. Oh, that didn't.
But there's a reason. I mean, there's
got stuck in Bermuda.
Yes, exactly. Like there is one package that I shipped right before we left for our last trip. It still hasn't gotten to this person in Alabama. And so I had to open, it's things like that where before the person messages me, I'm like, I'm going to open a missing mail claim. Like, cause sometimes that'll jumpstart it. Like they'll find it and they'll move it. So, those are the reasons where I'm like, why is this one stuck? Or, so I'm kind of ahead of the customer being like, why'd this get sent back? Whatever. And plus, like, I'm sitting in bed and I can't sleep. I'm like, what else am I going to do? I'm going to track my packages that way. But that's just through the eBay app. I just click on the items. You know what I would love, though, just as a shipping nerd thing? On the app, you can see that it got shipped. It'll be like shipped. But I wish it would just say delivered. Like, the ones that are delivered, I don't want to click on those again. Just say delivered in, like, green letters if the package came up delivered. Anyway, that's a request for eBay.
Speaking of not being able to sleep, I think it's just maybe it's a function of like getting older. Like last night, I woke up at 4:00.
I know.
I was wide awake.
Me too.
Totally wide awake, and I didn't get back to sleep till about 6. And I would try and like close my eyes, try and just blah blah blah. But it's just like. These things in my head are just, I'm just thinking about them, like a little issues and things we're doing.
Okay.
And and then, I fall asleep and then I wake up, I think I woke up a bit late, like at 8:00 or something.
Yeah, it was like 8.
And I'm just like, it's fine. I'm not worried.
Oh my God.
I think about those things.
I totally do that.
I'm like, why was I even worried about that stuff?
It's weird. It's like that feeling of like when you wake up and like whatever.
It's like impending doom.
You're like, oh my God, I have to do this. I'm about to do this thing. And it feels like so horrible. And then you wake up at like 7 or 8 and you're like, okay, like I'll just deal with it. But I think also, so it might be getting older, but as we in particular, I don't know about other people, as we get older, we have much more responsibility. Like, we can talk about what we were dealing with last night and this morning at one of the rentals. Just a technical problem. You're like, that's something that, of course you would lose sleep over. So you're like, what's going to happen? What are we going to do? Blah, blah, blah. But like, if you just have a regular job, well, okay, people have stressful jobs. If you have a non-stressful job,
Well, we don't know about other people.
I don't know. I'm just saying. For me,
all I know is that like it's this morning at 4:00 in the morning. I knew my mind was being silly. I knew there was nothing to really be worried about. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I know I'm not really worried about this. Like, it's not really impending doom that bad things are going to happen.
Yeah.
But the feelings are real all the same. And the only thing I can do is just make it through. And so it was like 2 hours of sitting there rolling around, kind of being uncomfortable. And then it was fine.
You should just check the tracking on our eBay packages.
Right?
That'll put you right to sleep. Right. Trust me.
Okay, so let's talk about this week. It was the lowest week we had all week. We essentially made $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, which,
felt like
as
that.
we've said before, that's our personal number we need to gross every week. So we need to gross $1,000 every week to
pay our bills.
Pay all the bills. So we did what we needed to do, but and here are the two things that are kind of bothering me. Number one is our average selling price was $25.
It was. Oh, I cannot believe.
Like every sale was like 10. It's like people were looking for the cheapest items in the store.
$10 items. Yeah. I'm like, why do we even have $10 items?
The other thing is, so we had a total of 4 unpaid items out of 40. So we sold about 40 items and we had 4. So that's 10% of our sales.
That is not paid for.
Unpaid. And the thing that was really painful is we actually sold $2,200 worth of stuff, but 2 of those items were really big items. One was a $180 jacket. Guy made an offer, we accepted, didn't pay. And then the second one is we sold a $1,000 necklace.
Right,
this really cool.
Yeah,
and he's not going to pay.
He's not going to pay. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
He was like, I'll give you $1,000 for this necklace. And I was like, yes. Yeah. Zero feedback. He's not going to pay.
So, we've been kind of complaining some about unpaid buyers. And, and that's significant. 10% of our sales.
Of high dollar items.
And there's nothing we can do, because...
I did what I was talking about. I would resend the invoice, email them. One lady did pay for this $20 book after I emailed her directly, but honestly, everybody else was just like, eh.
And, it is what it is. And if we're willing to make offer, that's just the way eBay is. People can pay or not pay. And that's just, it's like an auction. But just when you have a week, it's like this. It's a little painful. So, it's really, can we handle the stress? Like, can any of us? Like, as an eBay, someone that sells on eBay, and your eBay sales get intimately tied with just it's your life and paying bills. This is what it is.
Well, look,
can you handle the stress?
The other thing too is we're going away for a video job this week, so I've already changed our handling time because I have to change it now because we're leaving tomorrow morning. And we come home for a week, and then we leave for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's like our handling time is going up and down, up and down. Yeah. I don't know if that's why, but...
Yeah. But, that's just because we're trying to live the life we want.
Yeah, to be able to go away and do jobs and...
Yeah. But to me, I'm not going to just leave it on a negative note. So instead of thinking, why is eBay killing us, trying to imagine scenarios of how eBay is throttling us or something bad is happening outside of I do things like this. I look at our expenses.
Right.
I'm like, okay, where are we spending money? Are we making sure we're not overspending any place? That's number one. Because that's something we can control. Right. The other thing is let's put more stuff on eBay.
Right.
It's almost right. I mean, it's almost like counterintuitive. If you're not selling a lot, why would you list more stuff? But see, that's where it is. And we know we've been in this long enough where this is like one of those painful weeks.
It's just one of those
but you know what?
weeks.
Next week will probably be better, or the next week, or there's going to be a week where just like we're selling like crazy,
right?
And we can never know.
We never know when. My theory, honestly, about this, and we talk about this all the time with Cyber Monday. I mean, that was the theme of last week's podcast, really. You know, there's so many sales on like new electronics and new stuff people are buying for Christmas. People are buying that stuff, probably.
Man. So we have a very good guy who's on our forums. He's been around for a long time. It's Brian from Grandma's Treasures.
Grandma.
And he has a brother who sells on Amazon full time.
That's his full-time job.
And he says during this time, from Black Friday to Christmas, which is about 5 weeks, he says that guy sells, is it $100,000 gross worth of stuff? Yeah, I think it is. It was like $100,000 gross, and like
he's working his butt off.
A net $30,000 within 5 weeks.
Right. But that's why they call it Black Friday.
Like, that's incredible.
They're like, you know, the companies are like, we didn't make any money all year except for these 5 weeks, you know, whatever.
He must be selling, you know, hundreds of things a day.
Now, does he do FBA or merchant fulfilled?
Brian says he does. Much of it is merchant fulfilled.
So he's shipping all that.
But he says that there is some stuff he will send in, you know, to Amazon to have them ship it.
That is exhausting.
Yeah. But, you know.
He's making money. He's making a lot of money.
But then I think Brian said that then during the year, he obviously doesn't sell that much. So it's one of those businesses where this is a time to make all of your cash. I will say, Christmas is normally, you know, where we make more money, but it's not like one of those things where like 80% of our profit comes from this. So it's not too stressful, but it's just kind of weird. Like, but anyway, okay. So things we sold, like we said, we were just selling totally random, like in some sense, I'm like, I get excited when this stuff sells. This is the stuff we don't actually like choose. It's the stuff that comes at an auction in the bottom of a box, like.
But you list it, and then you're like, "This is only worth $12." Like it's already been photographed.
So I'm glad it sells. But it's just like we couldn't build a business just on selling this kind of stuff. So, okay. Scavenge of the week. We did not do any scavenging this week. We've been busy doing other things. You know, but that's just the way it is. Customer issues, we talked about the unpaid buyers, you know, kind of annoying. I'm still like, I'm wondering if there is a Santa Claus, because if so, that guy will pay for that
necklace.
A necklace, $1,000 necklace.
I mean,
it could happen.
It's so funny that he made that offer. Like, he made the offer, you accepted it. I was asleep when this happened. And I look at it and it's zero feedback. I'm like, this guy, like, He probably was trying to do he accidentally added a zero. You know what I mean? Like, he's probably trying to offer like $100.
It's weird. But that's just where we're at. So those are customer issues, things we learned in the forum. So something we're talking about on the forum was bad buy of a year, and people were sharing the things that they wish they hadn't bought.
Right.
It was good. I mean, you know, a lot of people are talking about like certain kinds of ornaments and collectibles.
Oh yeah, or when you go all in on something and you're like, oh.
Some people were talking about buying, you know, like pants in bulk.
That's one of our examples too.
But finding like weird sizes, and sometimes weird sizes are good.
Yeah,
like extra large clothes. But sometimes it's a size. It's just like it's not.
It's like there's not enough people that want that.
Right. You know, people buying like a lot of sports equipment. You know, it's just those things. But to me, I don't think even the examples that we gave, we never lose any money.
It just took a long time to sell, like the pants.
We didn't buy these in 2018, but we talked about it. We bought like, what was it, 600 bottles of a nail polish?
I think it was
6 to 800.
6 to 800
we paid like $300. I mean, we've made our money back, and we've actually made a profit. But in the 2 years or so since we've bought it, we still have so much
many
of it. Like, it's such a slow seller. And
but look, I sold some today, so.
But I would have felt worse if I didn't go all in.
I mean, we were there, and we were like, let's just do it. It's
you never know.
It's super long tail, and you know, it just is what they don't take up that much room, and they're so easy to ship.
Yes. So people were talking about books, like, and we've talked about that, going to auctions. There will always be like a table of books that you can get the whole table for like $10.
We've literally bought a table of books for $1, and then you're like, why?
Yeah, Hallmark.
Why did it?
It's Christmas ornaments.
I honestly hate Christmas. Like, good for the people who go through all the Christmas to find the vintage stuff or the high selling stuff, but I can't look at it.
Yeah, I think it's something where you have to really be into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And some of that ornaments can really sell well, but mostly
the vintage ones or the
not. Some people were talking about going to a big box store and buying stuff off the shelf, trying to flip it
on clearance or something,
and then realizing like other people did the exact same thing, so you can't really sell the stuff for very much.
That was a good topic. There was another topic too that people were really into. I forgot to subscribe to it, and then I looked, and there were like all these answers to this one topic of like how to be more efficient. Like, people were so into that topic. It's like such a long thread, and it's true because everyone has their little tricks of like, I do this to be faster at packing, and people are talking about very specific tape dispensers, like this one's way more efficient, Right. So, but I love that because it's true. Like, we can talk about my peanut dispenser, which I used this morning, just so you know. Those things help you be more efficient. So you're not like, I'll do this instead of this because this is faster and this is a pain in the butt, and like making things easier for yourself.
There was a lot of good advice, especially like photos. A lot of people say they really waste time on photos because they're taking them on nice cameras,
right?
And then they're going through each photo,
and editing and
lightening the image.
I used to do that.
And people are just like, just
get it up there.
Get it done. People are talking about when they scavenge, instead of spending all day scavenging, like being like a robot and just getting certain things. I mean, to me, there was always a balance between being efficient and being just like a soulless robot. Part of this for us is the enjoyment of it. So like when we're scavenging, it needs to be fun,
right? Because
that is a fun part. It's not time that's being wasted. Like, we went to an auction, last night, and we actually went to its preview first, and we were gonna just make a night of it. It turned out they didn't have a lot of good stuff, so we just went out to eat anyway, and then came home. I don't feel like that was time wasted because it was the anticipation of the whole thing. It was fun.
Well, also, like, it was kind of like a Friday night where this is in a town, one of the bigger towns around here. And we were like, we haven't been here in a little while. Let's walk around and see what's what and what's changed and whatever. Yeah. Plus, we went to Lowe's to return something to get our money back for something that we bought the wrong size of. So, in terms of scavengers, we're like, let's make the most of us being here. We went out to dinner, cheap dinner, but it was a little bit of a treat, and so and then we came home, so it's just kind of like,
it's good to be efficient for sure, but I guess it's knowing when you're allowed to enjoy the process as well,
right? And like you said, you have to enjoy it somewhat, or else you're going to dread it, and you're never going to want to do it anyway. You're just going to
burn out. I see those guys on YouTube. It seems like it's always younger guys who they start a series on how to sell on eBay, and they're just like showing you like almost like in like a scientific process.
Right, I get it.
This is the best thing
Buy
ever.
men's dress shirts.
And then they just disappear because I think they've just like boxed themselves into such a process that's it's robotic that at the end of the day you wake up and it's like, why do I want to do this? Like, this is
I should just work for somebody else.
Right?
I made a sweatshop for myself.
So, but, and then there are the people who just, like, only do the fun stuff, like buying, and then they don't ever put the work in, and they're the most inefficient people in the world, and then they're just hoarders. So, you got to find the balance.
Well, what's interesting, too, just going back to that interview with Sophia Amoroso, Amorosa.
From Nasty Gal.
From Nasty Gal. She mentioned something that we talk about a lot. When you have a small business, an eBay business, like she did, she mentioned, it's really easy to pivot. And we've talked about that a lot, where we got burnt out by selling clothes and shoes. We were like, we don't want to do it anymore, So we started buying hard goods and art and furniture and stuff like that. And like, we just made that decision like one day. We were just like, let's do this now. And so it's so different when, like she was saying, where you have like, a board and venture capital and these people. But when you have your own like scrappy business, basically, you can just be like, okay, everybody that works for me, the 2 people that work for me, we're doing this, or just yourself.
Right.
So it was interesting that she said that, because it's similar when we're talking about, dudes who make sweatshops for themselves. It's like, either they burn out and they're like, I can't do this anymore, or they pivot and they're like, oh, I want to do this other thing. I want to sell just auto parts, or I want to sell auto parts and clothes and this and that. And that's why I love it, because she said that. And when she said that, I was like, that's what we always say, especially with an eBay
that's
business.
kind of like, that's a good point, because, when we have a slow week, like we're having, like a weirdly strange week when it shouldn't be slow, that's something else I think about, not only check out our expenses to see if we can cut anything down. Yeah. Number 2, to put more stuff on eBay. But then I'll think, should we think about selling something different? Like, have we front-loaded too much weird little junky stuff in our store? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know, but
we need to put something else in?
But what's so funny is, just a side note of me being like, we were so tired of clothes and shoes. If you see what we sold this week, clothes. Yeah. Like, if we weren't selling clothes still, like, buffering the numbers with that, we would have sold nothing. Yeah. I would have sold a bottle of nail polish.
Like I always say, the way our business is, our eBay store, it lives and dies on people buying quote unquote high dollar items. And for us, high dollar items is, over $100. Right. Like, some strange clock, or like, some handmade, a wooden statue, those things where they're really special. You're trying to find that quirky person, and we just didn't have that week.
We just didn't. And like you said, we got some super high dollar offers.
Although
it didn't get paid.
This week would have lived and died by that one guy.
That necklace.
That guy actually,
if that was a real
that
offer,
$1,000, it would have saved our week.
It would have, exactly.
And that's the kind of weird, stressful thing about this size store. Honestly, we have a tiny store comparatively. Right. And we sell so few items every week comparatively, to like some Amazon guy. Right. Yeah. Those individual sales really do are a big deal.
So when there's like a smattering of $10 sales, you're like, what?
Okay. Our coming week, like Ryan says, because we're doing this renovation on a building, we're paying for it all out of our own pocket. Yeah. So we've decided to take on these video jobs as kind of our career work. So we're doing one more job. We're going to Orlando. Yep.
Which is kind of nice because it's cold here.
It's not what anyone thinks. We'll just be working the whole time. So it's not going to be. It's not going to be like Disney.
We're taking the train.
Yeah.
Isn't that's like kind of cool?
Yeah, we decided to take the Amtrak and take the overnight car.
We've never done that. Yeah. We've always wanted to.
We thought we'd try it out, so we're going to do that.
Yeah, so overnight to Orlando.
Yeah.
I'm psyched. I think it's cool.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and answer the questions.
Yes.
That people have called in about.
Now you can email us a question if you want to record an audio file on your phone. Our email is thescavengerlife@gmail.com, or you can call our voicemail number, and the phone number is 540-407-8486.
Hello, Jay and Ryan. This is Tim in sunny, cold Florida. I got a quick tip for all the true scavengers out there. This is a money-saving tip. I've been sourcing my foam, free foam, from behind these rent-to-own furniture appliance places. And, you go behind there, they're constantly buying new furniture and brand new appliances. And you can get the sheet foam, great for wrapping electronics, antiques, glass, whatever. The other foam that's great they have is this blocky type foam. It's airy, but you can cut it and form it, and it works great. I don't care as much for the cooler, traditional cooler foam with the little bubbles, beads that float all over the house. But those other two foams work excellent, and people are missing out. Almost every time I stop by these dumpsters, they have, at least this one or the other or both. Thought I'd share that. You guys keep up the great work. Thank you.
Wait a second. He said sunny, cold Florida. We're about to go to Florida.
No, promises. Although his idea of cold could be
might not be.
He has to put
cold.
on like a long sleeve shirt.
Yeah.
We have yet to find a place that is near us that will always have good shipping supplies for free.
We have not been able to find anything.
We tried going to a local pharmacy once and, to have them say bubble wrap, but I just don't think we have a big enough stores to do that. I mean,
we get boxes from Walmart when I need them. Like, we'll just go into the deli section, and that's great. But so it's a good, if people do have the rent-to-own, like Rent-A-Center or something, I bet they have great packing
people
material.
Talk about going to like a vape shop or that's like a smoking
pipe
cigarette
shop or something.
Where they have certain kinds of packing material too. So talking about that, as Ryan did kind of mention it, we got a packing peanut dispenser.
Yeah.
Like one of those big... It's like a big hammock.
It's like a big canvas thing
that comes down into a tube, and then you like open it up, and it drops all the peanuts.
But it's so cool because it has this like clamp thing that you kind of squeeze, and it dispenses it, and then you close it. That's the problem with peanuts. Yeah. Like if you try to pour out of a big bag, you're like, oh my god, there's so many.
Now this thing is actually, I mean, I think it's I knew it would be big, but the way that we had to hang it up, it's basically only like 3 feet off the ground.
It doesn't really matter because I can kind of make it work for any box. Like I can kind of move it to fill a tall box. Right. But the thing is, it takes up a huge amount of room in my office.
But that's what the office is
But I need
for.
it. But the thing is, so our friend was helping us hang it up, like finding a stud and like do the pulley system thing. And he was like, are you sure you don't want this in your warehouse? Like, but I'm like, this is where I pack. Like, I used it this morning. I was shipping a mug. And I was like,
oh, cool.
I know, see? I knew you would be so happy.
I'm so excited.
I knew you'd be so happy. But, for me at that moment, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm tired. I'm like, I got to get this packed. I want it to go out. And if I had to go downstairs or go to the back building to fill this box up in 2 seconds, I'm like, no, it has to be in my office. It has to be like, fill it up, put the mug in, fill it again, shut it.
Tell me the truth. Were you not using peanuts because it was a pain in the ass? Okay. See, that's what
I wouldn't have, if I was shipping that mug, I wouldn't have used peanuts.
Just paper because it's like you have to
crushed
walk,
paper and
So cool. So now we got the peanut.
I mean,
the peanut thing.
It's huge.
Yeah. And I love we only bought it for $50.
Okay,
free shipping.
so on Uline, it's so funny on it. It's like Uline. It like says it on there.
Right.
The funny thing is on Uline, it's $166 plus shipping. Brand new from
That's
Uline.
probably like $30 of shipping. You know?
Right, because it's big. It folds up a little bit. But so there was this guy. There's this guy on eBay. He had it $75 best offer, free shipping from Louisiana, and I was like, "Would you take 50?" And he's like, "Yep, totally. Here it is, $50." Free shipping. I was like, that is a bargain. So, the good thing is with being a scavenger, we weren't in a hurry. So I was going to wait till someone was selling it online for cheap to get it. I
love people that sell on eBay. I love people that do auctions, and I love that I can be patient. Right. And I just find the person that's willing to put something on auction for super cheap, and I just snipe it. And I'll win it.
You know what's so funny?
It's amazing to me. I'm like, how are these people making any money?
These guys, so the story behind these guys that I discovered when they shipped it to me, I looked at, they had like a sticker of their logo on the side. And I think they were a vape shop. They're like a vape distributor or something. So they must have used the peanuts, like everyone's saying. And maybe they were like, we don't need that one anymore.
Right.
We have 3 of them or whatever. So
Cool.
they were willing to they're like, let's just get rid of it.
I love it.
The thing was basically brand new. It was great. Okay, that is it for the podcast this week. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discussed and to join the conversation on the forum.
And don't forget, if you want to join the forum, you go to scavengerlife.com/forum. If you have to ask to join...
Hold on. You have to register.
Right.
So go and register. Put your name in. It's going to flag you because it flags everyone that registers. And I need you to email me and say, hey, I'm a real person. I just registered. And I approve you.
So we've been having a bunch of people do it this past week.
I have approved a bunch of people. Yep. Super helpful. If you're having a problem with passwords, you got to let me know.
And you only have to register if you want to actually participate.
Right. You can read the forums.
You can read and do whatever you want.
Yeah. So thank you for everyone who emailed me. It's so helpful. Okay. You can leave a question or a comment on our voicemail line. Again, that phone number is 540-407-8486. We post an episode every Monday morning. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video, currently being brought to you by Stephen Schultz. You can subscribe to our Patreon account, and you can support us for as little as $5 a month, and that helps us pay our server fees. And we are ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1. Bye.